So a lot of you have been asking about maintaining the ports on the boat, because obviously with a boat this size, we have a lot of ports. In fact, we have 25 opening hatches and ports on the boat. 25. So you can understand that makes them a concern. When they start to leak, we have a big problem. And we're getting ready to head to sea now. We got a couple that we know do leak just from our past experiences with the rainstorms here. So we're going around and repairing some of those today, and we're going to walk you through the process of how to rebuild one of the ports so they won't leak anymore. So that is today.
What we have to do is take that off. You gotta scrape it. Scrape that around here, get this so that it'll have a clean surface to come on.
Okay, I'll scrape it.
And you can use this to measure it.
Okay.
Okay.
The port off? We need to take the window off?
Oh, we need to take the window off. Okay.
Yeah. You can't just stick it in your gasket, you gotta clean the glue.
Oh, we're taking it off?
I just need a screwdriver, just these two,
Uh-huh.
and then clean. Okay.
Gotta make sure we don't lose the caps out the back. I'm gonna leave the screw right here. Okay. And just need to scrape all this down to get all the old glue off. See all that?
Yes.
If that's still on there when the new one goes on, the new one won't stick.
So the reason it was broken just because the glue was too old or something?
No, just the seal is too old.
The seal, okay.
It dries out, shrinks a little, and then water just starts finding its way in around the gasket. So that's where we found this stuff. Now this has a couple ripples in it, so we're not going to use that part. We'll go back to here. It's gone nice smooth, but this is all silicone now. Works much better than the other gasket. These old foam ones, they really dry out and start to leak fast. So it took me a long time to find a really good gasket, but this stuff with a 3M adhesive on the back is excellent. So we replaced these over a year ago, and all the ones that we've replaced are not leaking since, so they held up good. And we've had some wicked rainstorms here. Wicked.
Does it work with sandpaper?
Oh, I haven't tried it yet. Let me try. Probably slow. Let's see.
Maybe it needs to be porous.
Yeah, this is one, but it's used.
Yep, it looks good.
Okay.
I guess we can seal it again.
We want to make sure that's cut square. Square as possible. Good job scraping it off. We just touched it up with a little sandpaper. Of course on the surface a little bit, make sure it's good and clean. And the important thing to remember is always keep the seam at the top of the window. If you put it at the bottom, almost certainly water is going to gather down there and will find its way through the seam and leak. So always keep the seam at the top of the window. So we're going to start at the top middle. I'm just going to peel back the adhesive. And this stuff has very good adhesive on it, but yeah, mind it when you start peeling it. Don't get any dirt on it, because any piece of dirt will cause it to either not stick well or leak. Okay, so I'm going to start right at top dead center, push it into the groove a little bit, and keep a little bit of tension on it. Like it's a little bit elastic, so don't compress it, but pull a little bit of tension on it, especially when you're going around the corner. And push it in so that it stays level with the edge of the window, and just slowly push it down into the groove like so, while you're just pulling it around very gently. Don't put too much tension on it, otherwise it will want to pull itself back off out of the slot. But you do need a little bit of tension so that it doesn't kink up around the corner. And it just requires a good touch here, just to, this finger is just keeping a little tension on it, pulling it around the corner, setting it in the groove, and then this one I'm just using to push it into the groove before I actually push down on the glue, to keep it all in as tight as possible. And just keep gently pulling with one finger and pushing in with the other, and then just push down on it all the way around. Make sure it stays seated. Straightaways are pretty easy. Again, just make sure it's all the way in so it's flush up against the edge of the acrylic. And now we start gently pulling it around the corner again. And we're almost there. Just now the last couple inches we don't want to stick down just yet, because now we need to close it. So we want to cut it just a little tiny bit over. And then lift it up, lay that piece in first, and push it down. So you got a little bit of compression there at the joint. Just like so. And then that's how it lines up at the joint. But see, now that's at the top of the window, and water tends to always run around the low side first. So water's going to gather in down here, but now it will just run out the joint. It'll just run off the gasket instead of running inside the gasket. So that's it. Just make sure it's pressed down good. Seat the glue really well so it gets into all the little crevices that we sanded out and it sticks. And that's it. So we go back and glue it back in, or screw it back in. Okay, just screw those in, but don't over tighten so you don't crack anything. But that's good. And just as you go to close it, make sure there's no dirt here either, or you will still have leaks. It's got to be clean. And when you push this up, just make sure it's not binding on anything. As long as it closes easily on its own. The new gaskets sometimes are a little bit thicker than the old ones, so sometimes you got to push up, but yours feels okay, it's good. And when you close these, you see how they cantilever in. It gets closer, like the window pushes further in the more you turn this. A lot of people have a tendency to just do that, and they walk away and then they're surprised when their cabin's flooded. No, you have to push this all the way to close the window in all the way on both sides. That compresses the gasket and stops water from coming in. That's it.
Beautiful.
Mission accomplished.
Cantilever.
Close.
Should be good to go. Okay, you come back in.
Ah.
And that's our last one, so I think we are good to go with all of our leaks fixed as far as we know. Let's hope there's no more, but we're going to find that out on the test sale with any luck. So I think we are ready for our test sale. So that's going to be next episode. We'll see you then, guys. Thanks for watching. The main sail is going to look after itself. Okay? Rick, when I say so, you start letting that out. You're going to see the sail is going to start to luff, the jib. When that happens, you start as soon as you can, you just start pulling in that line. Always take up the slack as fast as possible.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, let it sit there for now, and then we'll see how that sets us.
Okay.
And now we are on starboard tack. And it should be a fairly nice ride back to the island, so we're going to have the wind a little bit aft of the beam, hopefully, or should be right on the beam. But we'll set that up here shortly and enjoy a nice cruise into the sunset.